anyone isn't comfortable with that, you don't have to have your camera on for it. All right, so those of you in yoga teacher training may be really familiar with the psoas. However, it is this muscle. Can you see that? All right, I'm going to show Abby too. So see how that muscle attaches to the base of your spine, and it runs down the front of your pelvis and attaches to your femur bone. This muscle is the sole muscle that connects your upper body to your lower body. And in yoga, we call this muscle the muscle of the soul. And also, it's the home of our fight or flight response. Shamans call this releasing the tiger, what we're about to do. So if you don't have a block at home, get one. If you don't have a block, get as firm of a pillow or a cushion as you have, because I'm going to ask you to place it between your knees and squeeze it. So all we're going to do for the first part of this trauma release is fatigue this muscle. That's all we're going to do at the beginning, and then I will walk you through the rest. So we are going to lay down. This is where our Kundalini Kriyas come into play. There's multiple ways to fatigue the psoas. However, I like to do it through Kundalini Kriyas. So laying on your back, these first two are going to give you a good ab workout, so do what you can. Place your hands underneath your hips, and both legs are simply going to inhale up, exhale down. Strong breath. Inhale up, exhale down through O-shaped mouth. Inhale through nose, exhale O-shape. We're working through 2 to 3 minutes of this, so that's where I say it can get challenging and it can be quite the ab workout. Again, hands are tucked underneath your hips to protect your lower back, because you want your lower back pressed down into the mat. We're 1 minute in, so we're going to do a second minute. If you need to go slower, go slower. If you do need to rest for a moment, rest, but then join back in as soon as you can. And don't worry if you're not doing it in a vigorous manner. Believe me, it is still fatiguing your psoas muscle. I have done this with people who are elderly, who can barely do any vigorous exercise at all, and it still completely works. So stay with it. You got 20 more seconds. Use your breath to power through. And release. Take a little Shavasana. Untuck your hands. Shavasana means extending out. Feet a little bit wider than the hip. Now in palms facing up. You hopefully already feel it. I do. So that muscle I showed you, I can already feel sensation and fatigue happening there. Get your block. Place it between your thighs, just above your knees. You're going to lift, and we're practicing breath of fire, but the key is to squeeze the block. So breath of fire is equal inhale, exhale. Now don't worry about your speed right now. If you're new to this, you can just breathe in through the nose, push your belly out, exhale. As you get stronger and this breath becomes more easeful, breath of fire. But the key for the psoas right now is squeezing the block tight. It's said that this Kundalini Kriya, when you're in bridge pose, breathing breath of fire is the equivalent of drinking a cup of coffee. For your energy system, that is. Can you squeeze the block tighter? Now lift your hips, squeeze the block, deep inhale. Hold your breath at the top, squeeze the block as tight as you can. And slowly exhale, lower your hips back down to the mat. Release the block. We are going to be doing that exercise a second time, but for now you can just place it to the side. Now bring the soles of your feet together, knees fall out to the sides. Lift your hips, squeeze your glutes, and breathe full, deep belly breath. So for me, I've done trauma release a lot of times, and I can already feel the quivering. So as you lift your hips high and tight, squeeze your glutes, you might start to feel a quivering sensation in your hips, in your thighs. That's good. If you don't feel it yet, that's okay, it's coming. But basically, if you've seen little dogs that shake, that is our body's natural response to integrating trauma. It happened to me after a C-section. I started shaking uncontrollably, and I thought, oh no, I have an infection or something's wrong. Fast forward to the future, learning about trauma, I realized that that is natural and normal and good for us. And us humans, we tend to fight feeling that shaking feeling. If we're cold and it's winter and we start to shake, or it's early morning and we start to shake, we fight it. But actually, allowing that shaking is so powerfully healing. Inhale, lift and squeeze. I know it's hard. Exhale, lower down. The nice thing is you get a little bit of ab and glute work when we do this Kundalini style, because there's other ways to fatigue the psoas, but today we're doing a challenging one. All right, so hands underneath your hips. This time, almost like you are an engine piston, your legs are going to push out as you breathe. One at a time. So instead of bicycles, when we're doing abs, it's just straight out. Flatten your belly, press your lower back down into the mat. That's it, Abby, perfect. And just push out. Now can you speed it up? Strong, powerful breath through your nose. It's like you're inhaling each time your knees switch. You're exhaling each time a foot presses out. Now notice as you start to fatigue, your lower back might start to pop up, but it's so important for the safety of your low back that you push it down, squeeze lower rib points and hip points toward each other. Keep going. We're 1 minute in. We have 1 more minute to go. Can you speed it up? Hopefully your thighs and abs are burning and you're feeling in the psoas. You got 15 more seconds. You can definitely do this. Push through. Use your breath. And release. Mini Shavasana. Extend your legs, long arms long. Take a full deep breath. Hold your breath at the top. And let it go. Get your block. We've got those 2 exercises one more time. Then we go right into the trauma release. So block squeezes right above your knees. Feet are pretty close to your hips. Lift up. Squeeze the block. Breath of fire. Equal. Inhale, exhale. Some people, when they struggle with this breath, teach it like a dog panting. Stick out your tongue. Pant like a dog. Now close your lips and do that same type of breath. That sometimes helps people get into breath of fire a little bit more. Lift your hips, squeeze the block. Now remember, Kundalini Yoga is different than Hatha Vinyasa Yoga, how they practice breath of fire. Kundalini, you focus on the inhale and the exhale, where Hatha Vinyasa, you only snap the belly button back and the inhale happens automatically. I know it's challenging. We have a little less than a minute left, about 50 seconds. You can do this. Breathe through it. Those of you more practiced in your breath of fire, can you speed it up? Lift and squeeze. It's really tiring. I know. You've got 10 more seconds. Lift, squeeze the block. Deep inhale. Hold your breath. And release. Lower it down. Block to the side. You are complete with the block until we do a little stretching at the end. Knees fall out to the side, soles of feet touch. Lift your hips. This is the last thing we're doing before the trauma release. Lift your hips high, squeeze your glutes. Full deep belly breath. So let your belly round out on the inhale. And let it fall back to source on the exhale. Maybe you feel more quivering now. Again, that is good. So the very first time I did this, it's called TRE, and it's getting really popular with the military to correct and heal PTSD, because there's nothing esoteric about it. I'm taking you through a Kundalini version, but again, there's other exercises that are super mainstream that we can do to fatigue the muscles. So it's really cool. And the first time I did it, I was just kind of in awe, almost like shock, like what's happening? These are sensations I've never felt. The second time I did trauma release, I just cried and cried and cried. I didn't even know what it was. I wasn't upset about anything, possibly years of trauma, things possibly that happened when I was a child. So you don't even need to know, but it works. Lift, squeeze, hold your breath. And now let it go. Let your knees fall out to the sides. Take a breath. So you're welcome to look at me for reference. Usually I'm guiding it, but today I am doing it. So you're going to lift your knees, just 1 little inch, and hold them at that height and breathe. So when I say hold them at that height, you're just keeping them at that level and you're breathing full and deep. As we progress, the knees will keep lifting, 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 lifting till they almost touch. Then we'll go back down. Your legs will start flapping uncontrollably, almost like you have butterfly wings. It's the most incredible thing. So just be patient. And the best thing to do is take a big, full, rounded belly breath. Let your exhale be 2 to 3 times longer than the inhale. And on those long, slow exhales, that is when the eruption of the shaking wants to occur. Now, I'll tell you, for those of us that have experienced a lot of trauma, it's natural to fight it a little bit. So there is an art of letting go in this practice and allowing. Lift your knees an inch. Hold them at that height. My shaking is starting, but once again, I've done it quite a few times, and so it gets easier to allow the shaking each time you do this. So just be patient. All you need to do is breathe full, round, deep belly breaths and long, slow exhales. And it doesn't really matter how long you go. So where we are right now, especially when I work with people that have had a lot of sexual trauma, they probably have already stopped by now. So regardless of how you're feeling in this experience, whether you're very open to it and you're like, oh, I'm great, I could do this forever, you are getting so much more out of this than you can possibly imagine. So I do want to give you permission that if at any time it feels overwhelming emotionally or too much, it is your practice. You can bring the knees together at the top. You can rest them all the way out, and you can take a break. You can either be done or you can return. Lift your knees another inch and breathe. Remember, the full, deep breaths is key. Big, round belly, inhale. Exhale 2 to 3 times longer. Lift another inch. I too forget to breathe. When I start to feel a lot of sensation and a lot of shaking, I kind of get excited about it, and then I might notice that I'm holding my breath a little bit. So again, it is those full deep belly breaths that take you into parasympathetic nervous system. It takes you out of fight or flight. Therefore, the shaking and the trauma release can happen. So it is super important to stay conscious of your breath. Lift another inch. Now you might notice there's places that you feel a little bit more shaking, and we've really just begun. We're going to be in this another good 10 minutes of shaking, and I'm going to invite you at the end to go back to where you need to be to find and create the most shaking. Where can you relax? And you're doing great, Abby. That's perfect. Just keep allowing. Again, long, full, deep, rounded belly. Inhale. Let your breath go slow. Bring your knees another inch closer together. I've even had retreat guests that their whole upper body gets involved, and their whole upper body is involuntarily, I mean, I can kind of make it happen and pretend, and their whole upper body is like in this whole moving thing, but that's not super typical. But those who can really let go, this shaking can overtake the entire body, because really your higher self is also involved in this work. So you're clearing out your energy body through your physical body as well. So much is happening, especially when you breathe fully and deeply and hold the intention of healing. Bring your knees together another inch. So Abby, bring yours just a little bit closer than that even. Yeah, there you go. Good. And breathe. Bring your knees almost to touch, but not quite. So bring them about as close together as you can without them touching. When I used to do healing work, I would just cry and cry and cry. I remember saying, I am so tired of being a human water faucet. These days when I do healing work, I typically hysterically laugh, which is great. So whatever you're experiencing, if you're experiencing any emotions at all, just welcome them and use your breath to release them. We're going to go back out. So your knees are hopefully almost touching. Now bring them just a little bit apart from where they are. Hold them at that height and breathe. Some people do feel effects after the trauma release, so it's just like getting a massage. You want to drink a lot of water through the rest of your day. You want to nourish your body with high vibrational foods. And you might need a little rest, or at the very least to go to bed early tonight. If taking a nap or, doing a meditation later, if that's not possible, if you have a really busy day, then just nourish, drink a lot of water, and go to bed a little earlier if you can. Let your knees come out another inch. Where can you let go? Check in. Are you clinging? Are you clenching? Where can you soften in your upper body from the crown of your head down to your pelvis, all the way to your fingertips? Where can you release and let go more fully? Let your knees come out another inch. Now, I'm just a guide, so wherever you find yourself, if you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling the most shaking there, it's okay for you to self-explore and go to heights with your knees that you feel the most shaking. If you get a point where you're like, oh yeah, this is a lot of shaking, stay there for a while. Stay there for a good 5, 10, or even more breaths than that. If you're staying with me, another inch out. Now again, there is an allowing part here of just letting go. It can be very surprising as your legs start literally flapping involuntarily. It can kind of just be a super strange feeling. So all you have to do is continue to breathe and allow. Another inch out. So for me, I'm kind of at the point where it starts to lessen. So again, I invite you to explore. Find the places. And if you go super slow, so if you move really slow, like let your knees even fall out for a second, and then slowly let your knees, like a snail, start to rise. It takes a little time and practice, but you start to feel those edgy places where it erupts, and then you can kind of find it and allow it. Are you breathing full, deep breaths? Now again, you can be done at any time. We're going to explore this for another 5 minutes. Then we're going to stretch the psoas, and we're going to end the class with a Kundalini calm heart meditation. This can be very intense for people physically and emotionally, so I'm just going to keep repeating myself. Stay in it if you can. And it's your practice. Trust your body. Trust what it's telling you it needs. And you can do this on your own too. It's not, rocket science. It's actually great to do. Like Abby was just with me for the 6:15 class, and we did it was a sculpt class with weights, lots of sweating. So it actually kind of primed us for this practice. You don't have to exercise before you do trauma release, but if you do walk or run or do some yoga, it does help get you into it a little bit faster. So it's a great practice to do after exercise because it doesn't take as long to fit. Like you can literally do a trauma release in like 20 minutes if you've exercised before, and then you just go right into fatiguing the psoas and right into the shaking. Check in with your breath. We got 3 minutes. Can you get even more breathy? Big round belly breath. Long, slow releasing exhales. I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of class, but I might have. But the psoas muscle in yoga, we call it the basement of the body. So if you think of a house up north, we don't have basements down here in Key West, but up north, where I grew up in West Virginia, we had a basement, and it tends to be the place you stick all your crap and all your clutter and all the stuff in boxes maybe you don't want to get rid of, but you're not sure what to do with it, or maybe stuff you want to get rid of but just haven't taken the time. And our bodies are the same. We push things we don't have time, don't know how. Integration of challenging experiences, challenging emotions. We aren't taught, at least not in America, we aren't taught how to integrate trauma and difficult challenges. And so it tends to then get stuck in our body, and that's why we have, there's multiple reasons we have anxiety and depression, But we're a culture that does not have good mental health only because we are overflowing with trauma that we haven't learned how to integrate. It's why so many people turn to things like smoking or drinking or any of those things, overeating, numbing out by watching TV or social media, because we just haven't learned how to integrate and how to be comfortable and happy in our own skins and bodies. So this practice is just so great for not overflowing to creating space in your body, because if we're overflowing with trauma and challenges, there's no space for joy. There's no space for bliss, serenity, balance. There's no space for it. So we can hear all these quotes all we want all day long, like just be happy or whatever. But it has been proven now. It's like what everyone's talking about. You don't integrate and heal trauma through psychology. So talk therapy is great, it helps, but you're not going to integrate the trauma. You can't do it by talking. You have to get into the body, and that's why I'm so into this, as well as transformational breath work, as well as quantum healing hypnosis, which is through the mind, but then gets into the body. You have to get into your body if you truly want to heal. All right, so I'm gonna start taking us through some stretching. If you're really in this process and you're just like, I am not ready to stop, I honor that, keep going. For those of you who are like, okay, yeah, I'm good, let it go, let your knees fall all the way out to the sides. Take a big deep belly breath. Hold it. Let it go. Bring your knees all the way together at the top. Heel toe your feet to the edges of the mat. And we'll just take a breath or two in constructive rest pose. Deep belly breaths. Now, you might still feel a lot of weird sensations. I don't get it anymore, but the very first time I did trauma release and brought my knees together and stopped, I actually felt really uneasy. It was just such a strange feeling, and it just felt very vulnerable, almost a little scary, I guess. So if you are having any of those sensations, that is normal. Just breathe. And now we're going to stretch that out a bit. So take your block, place it on its lowest level, its flattest side, right under your sacrum. And your sacrum is just a little bit above your tailbone. So you don't want this too low, and you definitely don't want it on your lower back. Now hug your right knee into your chest. Left leg extends long. And imagine your left ball of your foot is reaching towards, like you actually want to touch the wall or whatever is out in front of you. Strengthen your thigh muscle, lengthen your leg as much as you can. Now let the left heel rest down. Keep your left leg active so the left knee doesn't pop up. There's a little bit of strengthening of the left thigh. Hug your right knee in nice and tight as you breathe. Now your psoas muscle is probably singing. Like, oh yeah, I feel that a lot of sensation there. If not, hug your knee in a little bit more. Continue to extend your left sole of your foot out. And this is a great stretch for Hatha Vinyasa classes. You don't have to do the trauma release. It's just really great, especially if you're doing a slower flow. But again, it's really powerful. And I love to bring up the point about shamans believing that there's a tiger who lives down in there, and that's our fight or flight response. And so when you do work like this, you're releasing the tiger. And in Tai Chi, there's this movement with your hands where you push the tiger back to the mountain. And tiger represents anger and emotions that we don't need to be embodying. Now, I will tell you, be careful, but if you do a little bit of a moving of your knee, left and right, specifically a little bit more out to the right, you're going to feel different sensations stretching your psoas. All right, let's release this side. Hug your left knee into your chest. Let your right leg extend long. Again, imagine the right ball of your foot is extending out, trying to touch the wall or mirrors out in front of you. Let the heel of the right foot rest. Right leg stays active. Hug your left knee in. Deep belly breath. Now your psoas muscle affects your ability to diaphragmatically breathe. So if you really breathe a diaphragmatic breath with your stomach inflating out, you'll probably feel it opening and stretching your psoas muscle even more. If you haven't already, maybe just a slight moving of your left knee. You still hug it into your chest, but just move it a little bit out to the left. You'll feel different sensations. Now finally, as you release this foot, two options. For me, I have an anterior tilted pelvis. It means my pelvis sticks back. So I don't lengthen my legs. So some people love it. I can at least show you. You can lengthen your legs and you'll get a little bit of a gentle double psoas release. For me, that's a little crunchy on my lower back. And because I have an anterior tilted pelvis, I prefer lengthening the muscles at my lower back. So then I turn my block to the second level, just slightly higher, still right on my sacrum, and then I just let gravity take over. And I'm feeling all sorts of great stretching and lengthening at lower back, all those muscles and attachments. We're going to practice our calm heart meditation in this posture for 3 minutes. So for that, we're simply going to place a hand on your heart and belly. Now your hand at your heart, if available, is sideways. So your hand is parallel to your pelvis, let's say, and the other hand can rest on your high belly at your solar plexus. So calm heart meditation. Typically we're sitting up, but we're practicing it in this position. It's a bit like box breathing, actually. You inhale long, slow, and deep. Through your nose, hold your breath at the top just as long as you can without struggle. Exhale in your own time. Leave your breath out, and same without struggling. So you allow yourself to breathe when you want to. In transformational breath work, I'm always saying things like resist the first urge to breathe. This is not that. This is hold your breath. But it's a calm heart meditation, and to bring calm. Calm means easefulness and grace. So only hold your breath at top and bottom till you feel that little twinge and urge
to let it go and do so. Now notice if you can soften between your eyebrows. Let your face be so relaxed that it almost feels like your eyebrows could slide off onto the floor. Soften the muscles in and around your eyes. Soften your jaw. Maybe there's even something that you can release in your neck, shoulders, back of your heart, arms. If the block becomes too much for any reason, it is simply an option. You're welcome to move through the final minutes of Shavasana in this calm heart meditation and breath. You're also invited to release the block. Maybe bring your knees in toward your chest and make a few circles one direction, massaging lower back and sacrum, and the other. And of course, Shavasana is our final resting pose, a few minutes of stillness, extending legs long. Let your pinky toes melt outward and downwards. Gently tuck your shoulder blades under your back. Palms face up for receiving, or palms can face down for grounding and stability. I had one yoga student in the past at an old studio, and I just loved that she would place one hand up and the other hand down. And your left hand is your receiving side, your feminine side. Right hand is masculine, giving side. So if you do this, I recommend left palm up for receiving, right palm down for grounding. Wherever you are, let go and be still. May you receive all the benefits of the practice. May you be free. Bring your hands to prayer. Bring thumbs to third eye for clear and loving thought. Thumbs to the lips for clear and loving communication. And thumbs to the heart for clear and loving intention. In Kundalini Yoga, we end our class by chanting or saying Sat Nam. Sat Nam means truth is my name, and we bring our hands to prayer at the center of our heart to symbolize living from our heart and not our mind. It's a symbol of being balanced, of being centered, of being one with all that is, and remembering that you are God, source, energy expressing itself in human form. You are unlimited. You are powerful. Satnam. Thank you for practicing. May you have a blessed and beautiful day. Oh. Got a little chilly in here. Did your body temperature drop?
Yeah, I got cold too.
Mine did too.
I was like, am I shivering because I'm releasing?
Oh, I can't look at the Zoom anymore. I have to look at the camera. Thank you. So my computer's way over there, so I'm still getting used to. I look super weird all the time because I'm trying to look at you guys where I see you. If you're staying for the next class, I'm still going to turn it off because of the recording and restart. Thanks for being here. I'll see you soon. This is just so silly.